Welcome back, guys. I'm Dr. Sean, and I'm the Nerd Doctor, here to diagnose what's wrong with your RPG game and here to help you fix it. But first, don't forget to hit those like and subscribe buttons and comment your feedback or leave any ideas you'd like to hear me talk more about in the future. And first off, I know it's been a while and I'm sorry for that. My life has been crazy. And on top of that, I have a new girlfriend and we're training her puppy. So needless to say, it's been hard to commit time to making videos. And truth be told, it's hard to come up with ideas when talking about the ICRPG system because I feel like I've really said it all when it comes down to comparing it to D&D or talking about it as a plugin, milestones, races and chases, or creating some alternative sci-fi classes and rules, or even the initiative rankings. Though there is a topic that has been on my mind for a while, and that's formless magic. Formless magic was in ICRPG's second edition, and actually I did write a script for the topic a while ago and just never got around to recording the video. Partly because I've been busy, but partly because I'm not sure how well my script held up. So I'm going to combine it with this video because I ended up creating something that I was really excited about, and it really just fits in well when I get to it in this video. So today's video is ICRPG in the Magical Sandbox. Now, this is going to take a little explaining. There are plenty of DMs who read about the Faerun, Dragonlance, Greyhawk, Exandria, Eberron settings, and more, and can't wait to take their players there. There are also others who have a passion for Star Wars, Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, or other worlds and want to create their stories in those settings. But then there's DMs who want to create their own worlds inspired by all or none of the above. That's my world, inspired by various animes and history rolled into one big ball. Plagiarism is the name of the game for many DMs. But what's my point in all this? You may already be thinking that world creation is common no matter what system you're writing in. And that's true. And at the end of the day, all it is flavor. But that's what ICRPG is meant to do for you. Make it easy for flavor to be easily interchanged across one system. I made this point in my Dark Matter and my ICRPG is better than D&D videos. Doesn't matter if it's sci-fi, fantasy, medieval, horror, World War II, modern, or futuristic flavored. They all work with ICRPG. And now that I've reiterated that point, let's get to what I really want to talk about: magic and formless magic. What is magic? What is ki or chakra? Are they the same? Are they different? What about divine magic? When I'm creating my world, these were the questions I inevitably ended up asking myself. If you read the Sword Coast, they simply call it the weave. The weave is where magic is drawn from to create spells, and ki or chakra is an energy that exists within oneself. This answer didn't really satisfy me. If you ever watched Magi, they explain it as ruch. Everything and everyone is made up of ruch. And magic is the ability to control Rook. Magicians control their own, while Magi can control the Rook that exists in nature's itself. There's even white Rook and black Rook. I felt like I was getting closer to my answer, but I was still dissatisfied. Naruto was another inspirational show for me where everyone controls chakra, but what makes up the world? The last piece of the puzzle for me is a show called Black Clover, which I've been rewatching as I introduced my girlfriend to anime, and she absolutely loves it. In this show, everyone has mana, and mana exists in nature as well. There is also both positive and negative mana, and the use of negative mana is forbidden because, though powerful, it can have severe consequences to the caster. Now, why should you care about all this? I'm just showing you my thought process on how I want magic to exist in my world, because here's the big reveal. Because I want the lore and understanding of magic in my world to be as dynamic and interesting to my players as the rest of the world. Ever notice how in Naruto, Black Clover, Magi, Star Wars, Harry Potter, and many others like them, that a big part of the story is how they learn to control magic, chakra, or the force, or whatever? The character's skills and growth is in direct proportion to their understanding of what they're trying to learn and be able to do. Not to bash D&D, but there's nothing lamer to be than magic exists because of the weave, and you know how to use it. Here's your spells and spell slots. ICRPG is a template for you to be as creative as you want. So since you may be wondering at this point, this is where my world ended up on the concept of magic. The weave. Yeah, I stole the name for the world. Sue me, but please don't. Mana exists in everything, every rock, every tree, every gust of wind, and every life form. Mana is the fundamental property of life, and the form it takes is just a different expression of mana in a different form. There are three fundamental types of mana: positive mana, negative mana, and neutral mana. I know this is starting to sound like electrons, protons, neutrons, but we're just going to use magic. Technically, there is only positive and negative mana that exists, but neutral mana is when positive and negative mana exists in a complete or near complete equilibrium with each other. It's what most scholars call the balance. Everything that exists without life exists as neutral mana, but everything with life has either higher positive mana or higher negative mana, and all life fluctuate on a certain spectrum of the two. Sanity has difficulty living outside that spectrum. Too much positive or negative mana can make a mortal go insane, expend a being's life force, alter their morality or their physical being. The weave is how positive and negative mana has been woven together to create the material world and all other planes and dimensions of existence. It is unknown whether this weave was simply a natural attraction of positive and negative mana fluctuating until balance was found, or if there was a supreme divine creator that perfectly stitched it together. Though the material realm exists in relatively neutral mana, the other planes and beings of existence exist on a larger spectrum. The balance between positive and negative mana shifts to one or the other when you move throughout the inner planes of the Shadowfell, the Feywild, and the elemental planes. And the gap between the positive and negative mana only gets wider as you move to the outer planes. The upper planes are full of positive mana, and the lower planes are full of negative mana. When it comes to spellcasting, spells are simply the ability to manipulate the mana in the world, in others, and in yourself. The greater difference between positive and negative mana in a spell, the more powerful it is. But mortal beings can only handle so much difference before consequence. Scholars have nicknamed these differences as divine and infernal mana. When one uses too much positive mana, they are said to be tapping into divine mana. When one uses too much negative mana, they are said to be tapping into infernal mana. Both are considered forbidden magic because the use of such magics can result in permanent consequences for the caster, such as I said, life essence lost, physical changes, morality altering, or loss of sanity. They are simply too much for mortals to handle. However, there are legends of exceptions for this, as in everything. People who are favored by a god have made a pact with a planar being or contain a spark of the divine or infernal within them are said to be able to wield forbidden magic to a certain extent. These deals and favors offer a certain amount of protection from the consequences, but one can always push past those limits and find they've gone too far. Me, I love the concepts in Naruto, Magi, and Black Clover, where you start off with an aptitude for a certain magical attribute. So because everything in my world is made up of mana, every person has an aptitude to one magical attribute. There are 7 primary attributes: earth, wind, fire, water, lightning. Now, I'm also including, this is a little steal from Naruto, the yin and yang, or rather the spiritual and the physical. Some people have an aptitude for more complex types of magic, such as dust, steel, blaze, ice, lava, ash, acid, wood, magnet, storm, scorch, crystal, space, time, light, dark, gravity, and more. Aptitude doesn't indicate ability, though. Most people are never able to use their attribute, and many are never able to use more than one attribute. Only the most skilled practitioners of magic can use more than one attribute, allowing for the use of even more complex uses of magic, which will bring me to formless magic in a moment. But I just want to hit at how this idea of understanding how magic works in your world can open up so many opportunities in your stories and how to use these simple mechanics. For example, in my world, I have crit tables for when you roll a natural 20 or 1 when casting. But let's say a player wants to force a crit. They can tap into forbidden magic to force a crit and roll on my crit tables, but this has consequences. I'm thinking about making a forbidden magic consequences table just for such occasions. It could result in a loss of a heart, ability point, sanity, or curse depending on their role. Naruto is a perfect example. Early on in the show, it shows how we can start to access the Nine Tails power, but potentially lose control and hurt his allies. This places an actual value on divine blessings and planar pacts, and not just be flavor. Also, no, they would not be immune to the consequences table. I've just listed certain spells that I consider divine or infernal in nature, so characters with pacts or blessings would be the only characters who could cast them without consequence. Also, no, I wouldn't give my players the ability to just access forbidden magic willy-nilly. But anyways, back to formless magic. You can find a short paragraph on formless magic in ICRPG 2nd edition on page 47, and here's what it says. The most powerful form of magic known. Using formless magic in any way requires a special milestone reward. The caster describes any desired effect. An intelligence roll is made regardless of the target. Based on quality of his roll, the DM may improvise the caliber of results. Yes, this can get a little crazy. 1 through 5 being catastrophic failure, like a demon summon or death. 6 to 7, effect happens, but with dire permanent cost, as in like losing heart or ability point, things I just gave examples on. Or 13 to 19, effects happen with a temporary cost. 20 plus, meaning limitless wonder. You'll notice that all the spells in ICRPG are decently powerful spells, but none are overly powerful. You could say the vast majority of them fall somewhere between levels 3 to 5 if you were comparing them to D&D, but none you'd consider to be equal to spells of levels 7 to 9. So my interpretation of formless magic is just that, powerful spells beyond measure that there is no such thing as mastery of it. Trying to cast spells like Wish, Dark Star, Astral Projection, Power Word anything, or Time Stop is anything but a simple cast, which is why success could be this powerful and failure can result in devastating consequences. But again, formless magic is up to interpretation. Maybe you simply want to push magic spells further, which can make them hard rolls, but the effects are not as devastating. If you want a leveling system for magic, the Master's Edition has it, but personally, I love the simplicity of the original system. In the original system, there is nothing you can do without a cost, whether it's spell burn or consequences like I'm giving you for the forbidden magic. If you want more powerful stuff, there is a price to pay. And formless magic is a great way to introduce the high-level world-changing spells you're looking for without having them be OP. If the risks are too devastating to use, then lighten them up, or put your players in a position to have no other choice. Casting formless magic should be epic, not a party trick. This is why I combined formless magic into this video, because it works so perfectly with my concept of forbidden magic. Ultimately, all forbidden magic is pushing the limits of one's own magic. I know it was really a roundabout way of getting here, but I wanted to explain my process because I think it offers so much to the game when you can give a detailed explanation for what magic actually is and how people use it. This may be why player characters or NPCs enter into packs in the first place, because they wanted to be able to use their magical attribute or another one. I honestly can't wait to have players roll for a random attribute and see how they decide to use it. Do they make a deal for another attribute? Choose to serve a god and gain divine/infernal spells? Put in the work to see if you can learn a way to use others? Maximize the potential of a single attribute? Or forget about it and live life and fight without it? That's all I have for you guys today. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to hit those like and subscribe buttons and leave a comment for feedback or ideas you may have that you want to hear me talk about more in future videos. Again, I'm Dr. Sean and I'm the Nerd Doctor, here to diagnose what's wrong with your RPG game and here to help you fix it.